Hi, I'm Rob Greenhalgh. I'm here today to talk to you about the latest international moth sail from Northsails. So when you unroll your new DSX mainsail, you'll find the battens are already fitted. The cams will come in a small bag, but I'll show you now how to fit the cams to the sail. So the sails are fitted with 6 camber inducers, of which there are 4 different types, so it's important to get them in the right place. We start at the top of the sail. At the top of the sail we have a 60mm cam. That's pretty self-explanatory where it goes. And to put that on, the Batten's in, we can see the peg. We literally put the cam inside and put the peg on. Very, very easy. The next cam down is a 90mm cam. But what's important about this cam is that it's got a small cup size compared to the other cams. This is to allow for the taper in the rig. So it should say cam 2 on it. Again, put it in the pocket and then slip it onto the batten end. The next 3 cams on battens 4, 5 and 6 are all identical. They're 110mm cams and they all go on exactly the same way. Final cam in the bottom of the sail, batten 7, is a 90mm cam. So if we just look in closer detail at these cams, we can see that inside the aft end of the cam is a secondary bulkhead. This bulkhead is to lock the cam to stop it from over-rotating. The reason why we have this is firstly for vertical stability, so the cam doesn't fall off its peg, but also to help them tack easier and to make sure that the cams don't get inverted in a tack or a jibe. So all the sails are supplied with carbon battens. These should come already fitted to the sail. If they're not, however, we simply just push them into the pocket and then clip the small little rope loops onto the ears of the batten ends. And then what I do is I just tension the battens up very gently, clockwise to tighten. And all I'm looking to do is enough tension so those rope loops won't fall off. So it's really finger tight, not very much tension on it at all. Just enough so they don't drop off. So this 2020 model of the DSX is a development of the sail Tom Slingsby used in Perth to win the Worlds. We've generally kept the sail shape the same, but what we've done is increase the size of the deck sweeper. We've found big gains in having a big deck sweeper and the aerodynamics associated with it. So since the World Championship, we've increased the width of this deck sweeper part here by 150mm. The World Championship winning sail would have ended around here. So this deck sweeper part's got bigger, which in turn has meant to keep the sail area at maximum, we've taken a small amount off the back of the leech of the mainsail. Other details we've incorporated into this sail are fairing battens into the deck sweeper. I think what we're trying to achieve now is a nice sectional shape in the deck sweeper. So we've added 2 horizontal battens on each side, one here and one here, and these work in conjunction with these small velcros which act essentially as cross battens to keep shape into the sail. So that way we can create an aerofoil shape around the deck sweeper as best as possible. We've also incorporated a zip on the back of the DS. We find this zip works very well to stabilise the deck sweeper and keep its shape much better. So once you've rigged up, that zip's just done up to the boom which is coming through here. All these deck sweepers now are at max luff length 5185, and they're designed to come down very close to the deck of your boat and work in conjunction with the deck fairing. So we're aiming to seal that gap so we can catch all the wind going underneath the mainsail. Also supplied with your sail there will be 2 deck sweeper battens. These are the diagonal battens which essentially give the deck sweeper its support. So we'll just look now closely about as to how we fit those battens, as they are slightly tricky. So I'm inserting the deck sweeper batten into the lower part of the sail here, obviously thin end first. So literally you just slide it in into about here where the rocket adjuster is just near the end of the sail. And then if we just look inside in here, you can see now the batten is coming out of the pocket. And if you look closely, you can see the other part of the batten pocket is actually sewn onto the main part of the sail. So all we need to do is just feed that into there very easily, he says. So we just feed that into that other batten pocket, push it in, and then just put the rope loop on the end of that. That way the deck sweeper is now connected to the main part of the sail. If we just have a look inside the deck sweeper at the Cunningham positions. So we've got our main Cunningham position here on the bottom of the blank. This is where you've got to put the majority of your Cunningham load. On the outside of the sail, we have two webbing loops, one positioned either side. These are for hooking on external Cunningham. So I have a 2-to-1 on each side of the sail on the outside. You could also choose to put it on the inside as well. So we've got Cunningham loops on the inside and the outside. You can use all four or just two, you know, as you prefer, just on the purchase you want to use. I use a 20-to-1 purchase, and I actually use a 2-to-1 on the outside and a 2-to-1 on the inside. So I've got 8-to-1 on the DS and 12-to-1 on the sail, 20-to-1 in total. So these Velcro tabs have been put on to hold the DS skins apart, and depending on weather conditions, these can be adjusted to different lengths. In general, I would advise them to be positioned nearly as close together as possible. But once the sail is rigged, I connect these and they add shape to the deck sweeper. The DSX has been designed to work in conjunction with the CST Tow Pro range of masts. I was using the Tow Pro 1 and also the Tow Pro 0.5, which is their sort of soft and super soft mast. You can get away with just one bottom section, and I would advise the 1, and then I would ideally have 2 tips, the 1 and the half, and that would suit a range of 80 to 90 kilos. So when we're putting the mast into the sail, we simply insert the mast from the bottom of the sail, but as you push the mast up the sleeve, I always try to keep the mast on top of the blank and on top of the cams. So I aim to keep the mast as far back in the luff tube as possible, and you can see the tip of the mast there working its way up. I can see I'm going over the top of the cams, over the top of the third cam, and I keep pushing, and then I just try to lift the rig here to get the tip of the mast over that cam, and now I've managed to push the mast in all the way up to the final cam. So I can look in these zips now and see that the mast is over the top of all the batten ends. Here's the mast here, sat on the top side of the sail, of the luff tube. And just for note there, we always rig port side down, so the zips of the luff tube are in the air. So I now go to the top cam, Batten 2, and I can feel here's the tip of my mast. And what I do, instead of putting the mast over the top of this cam, I position it in its cup, and then I manually slide the sail up until I get to this position here, where the tip of the mast is going into the receiver at the top. And here I just carefully bring it into this tube. It's very easy, but it is possible to miss this actual holder for the mast tip, so you just got to go slightly carefully through here. Once I know I'm in there, I just pull the mast all the way to the top, and you can feel it hitting the top of the rig hard. I then slowly work down the luff tube, and as I go down, I just put the cams on, and that's just a simple twist. So I go one hand underneath and twist and put them on. Keep pulling down. Now we're at the spreader point, so what I often do here is just twist the mast 90 degrees the wrong way, put it along, and then just twist it through. So now I've got my spreader point out of the cutout. One more cam to go, twist and put it on. This cam's a bit harder because it's loaded in there a bit harder. And then I give it one big pull from the bottom just to make sure everything looks about right. Very important here to make sure that your spreader and your shroud fitting are lined up. It's time to bring the sail to the boat. So we set our boat up head to wind, and as the sail is laid on the ground there, we then come and position it on top of the boat. It's very important here that you put the starboard shroud over the end of the mast. Everyone has a very slightly different system at the top of their forestay. I have one shackle which takes the two rope shrouds and the rod forestay. This shackle then just goes directly onto the rig. We then pin our spreaders on. Again, everyone has a slightly different system, but a simple clevis pin is all you need. We often get a lot of questions about spreader geometry. I don't change mine too often, but I do have an adjustable front prodder. My range would be from a minimum length of 27 centimeters. That would be in a windy condition. And in lighter air, when I'm looking for full power, I would have it as long as 32 centimeters. But in general, a good base setting is 29 centimeters. Spreader side arms are 42 centimeters and deflection is 200 millimeters. So once the rig's up, the next thing I do is attach my gooseneck. So on a windy day, the sail can flap around a bit, so you do have to be a little bit careful with the boom flapping around. And if you notice here, I've got my boom on, I still haven't got my forestay on. That's the last thing I'll do. So now I've got my gooseneck on, I'll go back and put the clue on. Setting up the outhaul is actually quite difficult, and we'll come to that a bit later, but it's actually a control. We can only know the outhaul's tension once we're at full controls on everything else, so we may come back and adjust it slightly later. So now the clue's on, I'm just going to bring the DS over to the correct side of the boom. The next stage for me is putting the rig tension on. The reason why I do it in this way is so that I can preload the Vang to make sure that I've got enough range in my Vang. So now I pull on my boat breaker with the Vang completely released. This way I can get a preloaded Vang. Now I've got rig tension on. I aim to have the shrouds tight. For me now, we aren't really canting rigs anymore, so if I'm sailing upwind and I see the leeward shroud excessively loose, I'll probably think about tightening my shroud slightly. But don't be alarmed if your shrouds are tight on the dock. The leeward one will obviously always be a bit looser than the windward one. So now if we look at my Vang, we can see already my Vang is pretty tight. And you know, this is just through loading the rig tension. That way I know that I've got plenty of range in my Vang because I'm starting from a relatively tight position already. Next stage for me is to load the Cunningham. Again, getting the range in the Cunningham is quite tricky, so I pull the Vang on hard so that I can you know, again, have the Cunningham maximum extended but still on a sensible setting. So here's my internal Cunningham. This will clip onto the blank of the mainsail inside the DS. So this I'm going to pass now inside the boom and hook it onto the mainsail. So once I've hooked on my internal Cunningham, I then hook on my hooks. So as I said earlier, I have 2 hooks on each side of the sail. So a 2-to-1 goes on the internal webbing. And then another 2-to-1 goes on the external webbing. And that's the same both sides. So now the Cunningham and the Vang are both attached. I'm just going to go back and have another look at the Outhaul. And what's very important with the Cunningham and the Outhaul, because the tack is lower than the clew, as the Cunningham is brought on, it also brings the Outhaul on. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is having the Outhaul too tight. As the Cunningham comes on, instead of the luff of the mainsail getting tight, it loads along the foot, and the foot of the main gets very tight, stopping the Cunningham pulling down on the luff of the sail. For me, what I try to do is set up initially with a loose Outhaul, bring my kicker and Cunningham on tight, and then bring my Outhaul on. Right now I can see that I've got too much Outhaul on, because as I pull the Cunningham on, I can see the foot of the mainsail getting too tight. So now I'm going to ease my Outhaul and we'll have another look at it. So now we can see as the Cunningham is brought on, the foot of the mainsail is looking neutral, and we can see the Cunningham going up the luff of the mainsail. The next stage now is just to set the Velcros up on the inside of the DS. All I do here is literally reach in with my hands and Velcro the 2 tabs together at the desired width, approximately boom width. Once those Velcro tabs are done, we do the zip up the back of the DS. We're now going to roll the boat over and just do up the cam zips and have a look at batten tension. So now we can just zip up all the cams, all the cam zips. Nothing clever to do here. I just zip them up, turn the zip vertically upwards and push them in like that. That way I can get to the end of the zipper when I come ashore to unzip them. It's always good just to check the cams are all aligned and not at funny angles. And then what I always do is just look at my batten tensions. I can see this batten is a tiny bit soft. Now it's important not to over tighten the battens, but as you can see, just with half a turn, there's a massive change. So on this top batten, I don't quite take the last crease out. Just a hair there. And to be honest, if it was a windy day, I would probably have 2 creases in the head. And if it was a bit lighter on the day, I might clean all the creases. So this is sensitive to half a turn. The batten tension really does come up quick on this one. Next one down, again, it's not as aggressive as the top one, but on a light day I would have just taking out the last crease, and on your general day I would just have just the creases beginning. And then from here on, I just clean the creases out. For de-rigging, the first thing I do is pull my Vang back on so that my Cunningham releases easily. Undo the hooks. And then I put my hand inside and undo the Cunningham off the mainsail in here. The zip is now to be undone if it's not undone already. And now ease my Vang off completely and let my rig tension off. As soon as my rig tension's off, clew comes off. Once the clew's off, you do have to be quite careful to break the Velcros inside the DS. Ideally, you break those Velcros before you take the clew off. spreads off and now my sail's free to come down. Again, you drop the sail on the port side of the boat, the same side you put it up. Spreaders off. And lastly, forestay off. Once the forestay's off, the sail's able to come away from the boat. Now I work from the bottom of the sail and unzip each cam zip as I go. Unzip the zip, put my hand in and twist and pop off the dam. Here it's important, this batten's popped to windward, so the first thing I do here is just push that batten down. Undo the zip, put my hand in and twist it off. Again, at the spreader position, I just rotate the mast slightly so that it pops off the cutout in the mainsail. Keep working up, unzip, pop it off. And even the top one I pop off as well. That's different to the way I put it on. When I put it on, I slide it on, but when I take it off, I just pop it off. Now all the cams are off. All I do is just manually remove the head, and then I go down to the bottom, and the mast should just slide easily out. We're now left with our bare sail, and I'll go round and just gently back off the battens. Just 1 or 2 turns. Then I'll remove the DS battens. Then what I normally do is just place these DS battens about halfway up the mainsail, and then I go to the very top of the sail and I roll from the very top corner. That way you can leave this top batten in. So I roll as though I'm rolling towards that batten, and as I get there we just slowly turn and pick up the next batten. Just got to go a bit wider at the front to pick up that cam. And now the roll straightens up and we're going straight down the sail. I get to about here and make sure these battens get into the sail. Done, ready for tomorrow.